But marijuana works in a completely opposite way. So if anybody ever says smoke is smoke, no, it isn't. No more than what comes out of a fireplace is the same as what comes out of a car, but with a radical difference, marijuana smoke is good for you. Because when you do a bong hit, it's like, you're taking in about 8 times more oxygen into your lungs than you would normally do. So it's a huge amount of air. Nobody's breathing pretty confident. But when you do a bong hit, you're taking a big, huge thing. What's going on is you're taking in 8 times the volume of oxygen. Now, normally your lungs might not even be able to absorb 8 times more oxygen. But what happens when the THC hits your lung lining is it opens up the arteries very wide so that a much larger volume of blood and oxygen can be delivered to all your affected tissues than would normally be the case. That's why not only will you not get cancer, but THC in your lungs will prevent and eradicate cancers. THC attacks them immediately. There are many studies you can look about THC and cancer. In fact, we have 25 studies. It shows that THC attacks the tumor, shrinks them, actually shrinks them to half, and it cleans up the old tumors on the surface of your lung lining, and then when you exhale, it throws it back out into the exhale. So as you take in more oxygen, the THC is opening up your arteries, and so you can deliver all that oxygen, all that blood to your affected lung tissues, therefore getting 8 to 10 times more oxygen than you would normally get, and the THC as a byproduct scrapes your lung lining clean and sends all the tumorous cells and all the old cells and all damaged cells out in your exhale. So you're getting healthier as you smoke marijuana. And there's so many studies that show that going as far back as 1974. So here we can say that marijuana can stop you from getting cancer. It can reverse cancers because it can shrink them. It can alleviate pain. Topical, I used to have a lotion. It's got cannabidiol in it. It's called CBD in very trace amounts, and it will take away pain from every superficial wound, muscle pain, muscle damage, nerve damage on your entire body. I've never seen an exception when people rub it on. It only lasts 30 or 40 minutes, but the small amount of trace cannabinoids in there are actually liberating people from crippling illnesses. I've seen them so much. And you can pretty well pick any kind of disease you can think of, from asthma, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, brain damage, brain tumors, cancer, chemotherapy, AIDS wasting syndrome, and marijuana is playing a very valuable role for hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people around the world, in dealing with these illnesses. So here on one hand, marijuana won't hurt you, no long-term damage, can't kill you, doesn't change your brain in no discernible way in the negative way, but we'll get to the good ways shortly. And on the other hand, it has unbelievable medical uses, but it's illegal. And not only is it illegal, we're hunted down like animals. We've been hunted down like animals for 45 years in this country. That's 3 generations. 2 million Canadians have a criminal record for marijuana. That's a pogrom of an unbelievable scale. 2 million Canadians over 45 years. And what was the purpose of that public policy? How did anybody benefit by 2 million Canadians being criminalized? And half of those people, 500,000 of them went to jail for a small or large amount of time. How did anybody else benefit by that public policy? Well, you know what? They don't. Prohibition is the worst thing that's ever happened to mankind in many ways. Short of war is the worst thing. But prohibition, the banning of things, the banning of guns, the banning of drugs, the banning of abortion, the banning of words, the banning of pictures, these things never work. They cannot possibly work. They do not contribute to a wholesome society. But of all the prohibitions that could be bad, perhaps the worst is the prohibition of drugs. Because what happens is around the world, and we even see this in North America, the price of drugs goes up so much, including marijuana, that gangs form to try and make a lot of money off this. And now we have around the world thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of crime gangs all around the world who are basically living off the avails of the drug trade. And they use violence because they are outside of the legal realm of how things are done. In Vancouver alone this year, we've had 19 murders. Now, I don't think that's a lot for a city of Vancouver. Bear this in mind. All 19 murders are a result of gang warfare over the drug trade. If prohibition had been repealed on January 1st of this year, Vancouver would be a city, the 3rd largest in Canada, with not a single homicide for the entire year. That would be fantastic. That would be a tribute to how really civilized we are. When you can have a big city on a port city, on a coastal city like that, of that size, and not a single person is killed as of this time this year, except because of prohibition. And you see what's really happening when 7,000 people died last year in Mexico as a result of prohibition. These aren't small numbers. We get quite rightly upset when 122 Canadians die in Afghanistan over the last 6 years for a questionable military adventure that's completely a war of choice, our choice. And 122 people dying for that bad choice is a really serious repercussion. Well, we just had 19 people die in Vancouver this year alone because of prohibition. We had 7,000 people die in Mexico. There have been over 2
Arizona alone this year so far as a result of drug kidnappings in the United States. The rot and evil of prohibition is spreading all across the globe, and every year it gets worse, as it has to get worse, because prohibition is a policy with no other possible outcome but violence, high crime rates, corrupted politicians, corrupted police officers. Your treasuries are going to be empty, your jails are going to be full, the drugs will be cheaper and more prevalent on the street than ever before, not a single legitimate public policy goal will be achieved, and we've seen this repeated every year for 45 years, and there's been no change. It's more of the war on drugs. It's more of the rounding up and locking people. You know, one of the first things I find when people talk about is either you want to make end prohibition or people say, no, lock them up, throw away the key. Well, you know, it costs $75,000 a year to house someone in jail. It would cost less to send them to the best university in this country. It costs $75,000 to send them to jail. And they're going to come up with, I'll tell you this, there's a new bill in this country that's passed, Bill C-15. It's the Harper government, your government, between you and I think the rest of us have to curse you for that reason. Because Stephen Harper's never been elected in a big city. Calgary's on a big city, not Montreal, Toronto, Emery is not elected a single conservative. And the reason being is we're affected by prohibition. Prohibition violence happens in those big cities. And that is a result of conservative party policy and liberal party policy that says we should be hard in the war on drugs. And what that does, Bill C-15 is going to send a lot more young people to jail for mandatory minimum sentences of 6 months, a year, 2 years, for growing as little as 5 or 10 plants, for selling a bit of cocaine or a bit of methamphetamine or whatever it is they're into, mushrooms or whatever, down by the schoolyard. If you sell within a half a kilometer of a schoolyard, it's an automatic mandatory minimum of a year. And you know who's tempted to sell stuff to the school, down the schoolyard? Your neighbor's son or daughter. That's who it is. It's not a guy like my age, 50-year-old. People don't think 50-year-olds are 40 looking at the schoolyard trying to sell things for me. These people away. They're corrupting our kids. No. Your kid's best friend is corrupting your kid. Right? Because everybody who ever became a dealer the same way at the same time. There's 4 of you together, and none of you had any weed. But 3 of you had some money. And the 4th person knew where to get weed. So the 4th person said to the other 3, give me your money, I will get you weed. And then he goes to him, and he takes a bit for himself, and he's got a little wholesale. And that's how every last one of us who are a dealer became a dealer. We wanted to save some money on our own stash.